went back to get my master's degree, and I was paired with an advisor who was a world expert in listening, Andrew Wolven. Thank you, Andy. Yes,
Okay.
so I always called him Andy.
Is he
goes
still
by
around?
Andrew now. Yes,
Okay.
yes, and he's still a professor
Okay.
at the University of Maryland at
Oh,
College
nice.
Park.
Yeah.
But I remember telling him within the first week or so of meeting him, Andy, I'm not going to become a listening person. I didn't know what it was, but
Yeah.
it just did not sound like anything I would want to be. And he said, that's okay, Laura. You could be whatever you want to be. So I continued on with the master's program. Moving into the final semester, I thought, oh, crap. I should show an interest in what he's interested in because he's going to be writing my letters of recommendation. So it was purely a political move to sign up for his listening class. I did that, and Clint, it changed my life within 2 weeks.
Wow.
I just thought, this is what listening is? Why don't people know what listening is?
Right.
Like, people need to know what listening is, and there is so much still to learn about listening. And I got to be the person to do that. So I put the plans of graduating and going out and working at a junior college on hold and pursued the PhD with a focus in listening. So my PhD is in communication with a concentration in listening.
Completely unintentional.
Totally
Completely
unintentional.
like this was not the plan.
No, not at all. The universe chose me for this.
How I want to speak to that a little bit. How do you how do you settle into those moments of pivots, those life things? Like, how did you?
That's a great question. I do recall at one point going out on my back deck where my partner and I had a hammock, and I laid in the hammock. And this was the decision, do I go to graduate school? Do I give up a good paying job at that point in time, right? And toss that away to go to graduate school to pursue an advanced degree. And so I lay down the hammock and I drew a line down the center of the page and pros and cons, right? And I started writing the pros and cons list. But every time I would write a pro, I'd write a con, and then I'd write 2 cons, but then I'd have to write 2 pros. And I finally said, Laura, you are smart enough to build this list any way you want. It's not about how you build the list, it's about how you feel. So I put the list down, shut my eyes, and just said, what am I supposed to do, universe? And the universe said, go to graduate school. And I thought, okay. And so that's kind of how I do it. I listen to myself. I just step back and listen to what my heart wants. And oftentimes I have no idea. Most times I have no idea how I'm going to do it or how it's going to work out. But I just really feel like that's the universe guiding me to it.
You say something. I have a thought here. There's an idea. If you'll help me navigate it.
Okay.
Listen to yourself. It's for me. It's kind of that concept. You know, RuPaul says in the RuPaul's Drag Race, how the hell are you going to love someone if you can't love yourself?
Yes.
It kind of feels to me in that way. If you know, how can you listen to others if you don't first listen to yourself?
I like that a lot. And I would like to say I am better at listening to myself than listening to others, but I'm really not. It's still a practice. It's still something that I have to be intentional in.
Yeah.
And I do it in a number of different ways. I've been practicing yoga now for decades.
Okay.
I did meditation for a number of years, but sitting still is so hard for me. And I love the idea that you can just do 2 minutes of meditation and it counts, right, as meditation.
Yeah.
And it does help because it really does help you to focus. And then the whole idea about mindfulness, just being aware of your surroundings and being in the moment with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even remember what your question was.
Well,
to
no,
be honest.
that's it. Like
listen,
you. I think that conscious awareness is exactly where we start first. Whether we have trauma, we have pain, we have those things, and until we can learn to listen to what our bodies and our minds and our hearts are telling us, which might be at sometimes to dig into that trauma, that takes a heavy piece. And that conscious awareness, like you said, that's such a critical ingredient in that listening to ourselves piece, because you can't just go in to listen to yourselves because that could then navigate into some more trauma if you're not ready to prepare to what you're about to hear.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right about that, because I do remember a number of these times like having to pull away the things that were covering what my real voice inside was saying, and I would hear something and go, no, that's just my mom talking, right? Or, oh gosh, no, that's my fifth grade history teacher or whatever, and
You had one too.
yes, Mr. Bornberger.
Is he still with us?
I don't know. I don't know. But then just pushing those things away until you recognize your own voice. And for me, when I recognize my own voice, I also feel it in my gut. So it's kind of a twofer.
Yeah.